I'm Governor Larry Hogan, and I'm proud to support the efforts of the Fair Hill Organizing Committee to host the Maryland 5-Star at Fair Hill. Maryland is incredibly proud of its historic equine industry, and the stage is set for a new era of eventing to begin right here in Cecil County. Please enjoy this virtual event as a sneak preview of what you can expect next fall at the new Fair Hill Special Event Zone. See you next year.
It's unbelievable competing at the 5-star level. Obviously this is the pinnacle of our sport, something that you dream about when you're a young kid getting into horses, and to have one right in our backyard is just simply amazing.
Fair Hill has a great tradition of putting on really great horse shows, but with this new facility it's just going to elevate it to the next level. This truly is a world-class stage for a horse event. You come out to an event like this, you're going to be able to see everything the way that it's all planned. It's spectacular. The cross-country course, the situation with the arenas. It's going to be a great place for people to come and watch world-class eventing.
It's amazing to see the transformation and the incredible amount of effort and commitment and financial investment that has gone into the facility. I just can't say enough about how impressed we are and how excited we are to finally get horses and riders running across this beautiful new venue. It's just going to really mean so much to us to have a venue of this caliber, to be able to test the best in the world that we have right here in Cecil County.
Derek DeGrazia has done an amazing job for the last several years, and Ian Stark is one of our favorite course designers, so we're very excited to have it here. And I think with the footing being so excellent in this test event and in the infancy of this, then by next year it'll be an incredible place to ride.
We installed a pretty serious base underneath these arenas, which is one of the reasons that after we had 5 inches of rain a couple of days ago, they're performing amazingly.
These rings, the cross-country course, the racetrack, I mean, this is going to be one of the world's best facilities.
The development here has been fantastic. All the all-weather surfaces that we'll be doing dressage and show jumping are absolutely world-class.
The surfaces were outstanding. The horses jumped as well as they ever could have jumped on it today, which is always really encouraging. The cross-country yesterday was a lot of fun. I think we're going to have a really serious track on our hands when it becomes a 5-star. You could see some of the makings of what will be in 2021.
It's not going to be an easy 5-star. Your horse is going to have to be fit. It's going to be a challenge. It's going to be great competition, and so that's what I look forward to, is putting yourself and seeing all the best riders and best horses in the world coming together and seeing who comes out on top.
I think it was very promising for us riders to see how great the footing was, how established it was.
Super interesting terrain. It's galloping, it's undulating, and I believe also the organization have nailed it with getting Ian Stark on board as a course designer. He's very skilled, he's very ambitious, and he builds very exciting courses.
We're ecstatic about the 5-star coming to America in the fall. It's something I think our country needs, and it'll be a great development. And having run around this track for the test event this weekend, I think it is going to be a proper test. It'll be a proper 5-star and require the fitness and education of a type of horse you'd send to Burley or Badminton or Kentucky even. So I think it's going to really help in our horses' development and riders' development to have this here every year.
It's absolutely critical to be able to have another opportunity to test our horses and riders at that level here on home soil. It's very expensive and time-consuming to send horses overseas to compete, so to be able to have this opportunity to have another 5-star here in this country, it changes the game for us from a high-performance standpoint, and we're really excited for the potential for the future of how this is going to impact our chances to start winning medals again for this country.
It gives us so many more options for our top horses, and I'm just looking forward to seeing what this place is going to keep becoming.
This is great for event competitors, owners, and fans in the United States to have a second 5-star competition, especially having one here at Fair Hill, which has such a long history of successful high-level eventing.
The place is very established and ready for next year, and we're really excited as riders for what the future holds here.
The venue here is fantastic, obviously, but then you have all the surrounding restaurants and activities in Maryland. So I believe anyone who comes here should not just come to the event, but also really take the opportunity to travel around and learn to know more about this area.
And come October 2021, we think we'll show the world why we built this facility, why they should come to the great state of Maryland to compete. You know, you got the Chesapeake Bay just a few miles to the east, you know, a couple hours north of Washington, D.C., a couple hours south of New York, right along the I-95 corridor.
From the crabs to the water, it's such an amazing place to be able to bring your family to enjoy a wonderful spectacle of horses on display. And when you add in top competition with the very best athletes in the world, right here in Cecil County, that's where the magic happens.
What we're trying to establish here is brand equity in the special event zone, and the Maryland 5-Star is the pinnacle of the sport, and it's going to establish that brand equity that will then trickle down to all the other events that we host out here. And this facility, over the course of time, will be a legacy venue that no one else in the world will have.
Brown Advisory is proud to support the Maryland 5-Star at Fair Hill. Through investment performance, strategic advice, and the highest level of service, we are committed to making a material and positive difference in the lives of the individuals, families, and institutions we are privileged to serve, and for the communities in which we work and live.
Hi, I'm Mike Hankin, President and CEO of Brown Advisory. We are proud to partner with the Maryland 5-Star at Fair Hill. Our company, headquartered right here in Maryland, has a rich tradition of supporting equestrian sport for many years through steeplechase and flat racing. And we're now thrilled to add this incredible international competition and the sport of eventing to our portfolio. We look forward to you joining us in Cecil County next fall, 2021, for the inaugural event. It will be 5-star.
Hi, I'm Mike Gill, Chairman of Evergreen Advisors and Co-Chair of the Fair Hill Organizing Committee and a lifelong Marylander. Our committee is proud to present the inaugural Maryland 5-Star at Fair Hill, one of only 7 5-star level events worldwide, and a welcomed addition to the rich equestrian calendar in our great state. We are excited to welcome the world to Fair Hill next October and many years to come. See you there and make 2021 5-star.
Hi, I'm Mary Codron, Competition Manager for the Maryland 5-Star at Fair Hill. Can't wait to see you in 2021 here in beautiful Cecil County, Maryland. We'll make it 5-star.
Hello everyone, I'm Jeff Newman, President and CEO of the Fair Hill Organizing Committee, an affiliate of the Sport and Entertainment Corporation of Maryland. On behalf of our committee members, staff, and event partner Fair Hill International, we're thrilled to be part of the team to bring you the inaugural Maryland 5-Star at Fair Hill to our state and Cecil County. As 2020 has been a challenging year for live spectator sports, we're proud to present this virtual event in celebration of the week that would have been. So please enjoy this glimpse into the sport of eventing, and we'll see you in October 2021 for the inaugural Maryland 5-Star at Fair Hill. One thing you can count on, we'll make it 5-star.
Eventing has its roots in a comprehensive cavalry test requiring mastery of 3 types of riding: dressage, cross-country, and jumping. The athlete rides the same horse in each phase over 3 days of competition after passing a horse inspection. On day 1 in dressage, they perform a test showing a set pattern of movements in front of 3 judges. The judges give a score which is converted into penalty points and carried forward to the cross-country phase. The aim is to have as low a score as possible. Day 2, the cross-country phase, is made up of around 40 jumps over specially constructed solid obstacles such as logs and wood piles, with ditches and water increasing the difficulty. Penalties are given for any jumping errors and exceeding the time allowed. These are carried forward to the jumping stage. Day 3.
The next morning, everyone needs to pass the horse inspection.
The horse and rider combination are tested over a course of knockable obstacles. Team medals are decided after the first round of jumping, the individual medal after the second round of jumping, and the medal winners are the team and individual with the lowest number of penalties at the end of the 3 phases.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tim Gardner. I'm here with my wife, Nina. We're going to be joined by Jen Brannigan, who's at our training site, at her training site. And we're here to talk about 3-day eventing, as well as our own personal experiences with eventing and with our horse activities, as well as Jenny's amazing professional career as a 3-day 5-star event rider.
So Nina, why don't you fill me in a bit on how you got interested in eventing in the first place, and then your career in eventing as a rider?
Well, first off, we were city folk until the mid-70s, and then we moved out to the country in Baltimore. And at that point, none of us really knew much about riding, but we got involved with fox hunting and very quickly heard about eventing. And in 1978, we went to Kentucky to watch an event there, and we saw what I consider to be the big time. And to me, that was the inspiration for everything. Those horses and riders and what they could do were just remarkable. So anyhow.
And Nina, wasn't that the initial World Cup in the U.S.? That was 1978. It was a World Cup competition.
World Games.
World Games competition. And so that was actually the start of the Kentucky Horse Park, its experiences with 3-day eventing. And there were international competitors, and really we saw what is essentially the 5-star eventing competitions at that very first, big time event
in the U.S.
In the U.S. and in Lexington.
So there were a lot of little events in Maryland when I came along that were very nurturing for the beginner riders and beginner horses, and I was very lucky to have those because a lot of them had disappeared in the meantime. So,
and those are the kind of events that we have at Fair Hill for the young riders that, we talk about going from green to gold. That's one of the goals at Fair Hill, to get our younger riders going in eventing and get to the point where they can compete in the big time and the 5-star and so on.
I learned very quickly, or became convinced, that combined training was the best way to either start a horse or remake a horse for almost any discipline, because it enabled them to perform in a relaxed but attentive kind of way, and they enjoyed the different things that they had to do, particularly the jumping. So anyway, I was hooked at that point, and I was hooked to event myself, and never thinking that I would get into it from the perspective of being an owner or
supporter.
Yeah, exactly.
And just to emphasize what you were saying, the really unique thing about 3-day eventing is that you have a single horse and a single rider who competes both in dressage, which is sort of like horse gymnastics, and then does cross-country jumping and racing, and then finally on the third day of a 3-day event, ends up with show jumping, where the horse has to be really disciplined and precise and so on. And as Nina was saying, the sport really is in some ways the epitome of horsemanship, because you take a horse and a rider who is able to compete effectively in all three of those areas. So Jenny, you know, we obviously, the three of us, we know eventing as well as anyone, but why do you think people should come to watch a 5-star event?
Well, I think I can say this for probably at least 90% of event people that are involved in eventing. But most of us got involved with it because of cross country, and you know, there's that element of danger to it. It's thrilling, it's fast paced, it's fun to watch. You know, it's awesome because there's also like a lot of tailgating and all sorts of different things going on for children. But it's really the cross country, I think, that brings people in to want to watch it. And you know, you see something that's quite heroic and dangerous and fast and brave, and it's all those things that make sport exciting. And obviously the dressage is wonderful as well, and I quite enjoy show jumping personally. That's quite fun to watch as well, because you build up, you go from, you know, the lowest place person in the standings to the highest place person in the standings, and so the added pressure of that as it goes is quite exciting at the end. And getting out and watching the cross country would be my recommendation to anyone that wanted to get involved in eventing, or just check it out and see what it's about, because it's really exciting. And you can see even people's relationships with the horses. If you go watch the warm up or the cool down, you get to see actually what level of care is going on, and you could see how much people love and care for these animals. I mean, they're the real athletes, and we all admire our horses, and they're our partners. So it's cool to see that side of it as well.
Maybe, Jenny, you can tell us a little bit about your background and experience and how you've gotten to this level of being a 5-star event rider. Where did you come from?
I was born in Chicago, Illinois. My dad was a homicide detective there, and I ended up learning to ride when I was 9 in a little town called Galena, Illinois. And that's when I heard about eventing. I had no idea what it was. I was fox hunting as well, and I actually endurance rode. And I did a 100-mile endurance ride, and I said to myself, this is a bit too not exciting enough for me. I shouldn't. It's too much trotting. Trotting for 100 miles is, you know, I was like, I think I need something a little more fast-paced. So I started fox hunting, and then I heard about eventing, and I didn't even know what it is, but I just got this feeling like that's what I know I'm supposed to do this. For some reason, I felt like that, and I remember seeing it on
Were you doing pony club then?
No, I never have done pony club.
No. Okay.
Which is kind of funny. And then ended up, you know, riding like at some lower level events, and I always rode and helped out at the barn and whatnot, and ended up getting a horse that was an older mare, and met Allison Springer, and who is a 5-star level rider and ridden all over the world. And I was ironically her first working student. And she was in her mid-20s then. And I wanted to do young riders.
And that was in Virginia? That was in Virginia?
No, she lived in Barrington Hills in Illinois. That's where
really?
Allison was from. So,
okay.
So I went and lived with her for a summer or two. And then she was riding with the O'Connors in the winter, and I was a freshman in high school. And my mom and dad let me go down to Florida to Karen and David O'Connor's place with Allison and try to get qualified for young riders. So that was really eye-opening, and that was the first time I got to see the sport at a big stage, and I got to groom at Rolex and at Foxhall, which is no longer, and it was just really exciting. And I was like, I knew for sure that's what I wanted to do. And meanwhile, my grandfather was getting older, and so we moved out to California, and I started riding as a professional out there almost immediately.
Well, you started young, but
Yes.
I meant you started in eventing, and it's in California, then came east, and you got to know the O'Connors, or at least you saw their operation. And
Yep.
David and Karen O'Connor are U.S. Olympians, and and legendary riders. David was the U.S. team coach for a while, and Karen is one of the most successful current lady eventers. And then Philip Dutton spotted you and said, this young lady is talented.
The way he described Jenny when he was telling me that she was coming, he said, this girl is the real thing.
Well, that way he was a good talent spotter. So and working for Philip, that's sort of how that's how we got to know you and got to admire your riding skills and so on. And it really sort of came a time when when we needed someone who could help us bring along our younger horses. And Philip had a huge string of horses at that time, and he really was hard for him to concentrate on our younger horses, on the younger horses. And this was perfect timing for us. And Jenny, as it turned out, has just been extremely talented and effective at bringing along our young horses. And when you breed a horse, and it takes 2 or 3 years to get them to the point where they're being ridden, and then eventing is a very challenging equestrian competition because the horse has to do all 3 phases, dressage and be an effective cross-country horse. So it's really not until they're 5 or 6 that they start to compete, and that just takes a lot of patience and effective training and so on. And Jenny, right now, the other day, we were over at Boyd Martin's farm where he has a great area for training cross-country jumps. And Jenny was working with 2 of our 5-year-old horses, bringing them along beautifully. And I just, after that day, watching you that day, Jenny came back and said, boy, we really did well to make our partnership with Jenny, because she not only rides great at the 5-star level and has taken us to a lot of great successes, including winning the Fair Hill International with horses, but also does great with our young horses.
She is one of the most patient people I've ever met in my life.
Oh, that's what you're
She's
saying.
very gentle and very positive with the animals. There's not a lot of in fact, there is no jerking around and discipline from a negative point of view. It just doesn't exist.
It really takes tremendous skill to be able to give the horse not just the training and the confidence, but the skills to be able to jump, tremendous fences on cross country at speed, and then come back and do a disciplined jump in a show jumping arena. And that after having, been successful at this very demanding discipline of dressage.
I think one thing that the layperson who isn't familiar with horses doesn't understand is that the upper level event horses really love what they're doing, or they wouldn't do it. You can tell when you're riding them, as you go and turn them towards a jump, they'll lock onto the fence. And if everything's right, you don't have to do much of anything but stay out of their way when you're riding them, and they will do the fence in balance and safely. They really enjoy it. They may not enjoy dressage nearly as much. In fact, I don't think they do.
Yeah, to make them run around in little circles and so on.
It's more a ballet than a gymnastic. I want to correct my dear husband on that, but sometimes it's not real graceful or smooth, but it's supposed to be.
And I think you get the sense that from these 2 ladies, Nina and Jenny, that really being successful in 3-day eventing, you have to treat the horse as a individual and really be patient and get the horse.
It's a partner.
Get the horse to enjoy what he or she is doing and so on. So, we're using terms like he and she, like they're so almost, persons, but that's the kind of
relationship you have to be successful. And Jenny does it in great style. She really, I mean, just the other day she was talking. We had two young horses. They were born in the same year.
They have the same father.
But they have their entirely different challenges. And she was explaining how this horse, you have to keep the head up and relax and this and that, and the other one needs another kind of approach and so on. And, I just want to comment again or comment on why we're so enthusiastic about eventing and why we think other people would enjoy it, to understand that these very strong animals can be trained to do this 3 phases of competition and do it so well at the highest level it's just unique. I mean, show jumping is fun. It's very precise and so on. It can be exciting. And certainly the cross country is probably, to me, the most exciting part of 3-day eventing. But to realize that the horse has to be really successful at a disciplined dressage test, and then the next day go out and run like crazy and jumps that are, intimidating to anybody, including the horses, and then come back and get him or herself disciplined enough to do a tough cross-country field show jumping without knocking down poles. And that's really, that's the amazing aspect of this.
And there's all kinds of management issues as far as soundness is concerned, and getting a horse fit at the right level for the particular level of performance. There's a real art to this. It's not just a sport or a science. There really is an art to having everything mesh at the right time, and you've got to have good luck as well to have it work out.
So, Jenny, what do you see in a young horse, or what do you need to see in a young horse to have some confidence that you can bring that horse up to the 5-star level?
Well, it's interesting because a lot of times the horses that are going to be, top 4 or 5-star horses are not necessarily the ones that are going to win at the lower levels, because a lot of them, and this is something that you can't always tell what a horse has, as much of is heart. And normally, if you have one that's a little bit quirky or a little bit different or tough in some ways, a lot of top 5-star horses are known to be difficult young horses. They have a high spirit.
You mean they have
a lot of heart.
They have a mind of their own?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Definitely. And it's interesting because, there's a lot of horses that maybe wouldn't have won at the novice or training or, they wouldn't necessarily be the horse out winning at all these lower levels. But then you look at them at the top level, like Sinead Halpin's horse, for instance, it's the Manoir de Carnaval. That was a lovely horse. Or Harper Pilot, Handa Sue's horse. They were tough horses to bring up. Donner, Lynn Zamansky's horse, extremely difficult to deal with on the ground even now. And so it's interesting. You look for movement, and you look for how they're put together, and you look for how they jump. But most people can look at a horse and say that's a pretty mover, even if they don't know anything about horses, or hey, that horse jumps well. But the one thing you really need to feel that the horse has is heart, and it has quite a bit of spirit to it, because at the end of the day, you can have a horse, and like Nita says, they have to love the sport as well. So, I think you can get a horse to a certain level, and you can have it do something with the partnership and whatnot. But to be at that 5-star level, I think they have to truly love what they're doing, and have a fair bit of fight and spirit to them. And so it's interesting. I often think when I have a young horse that's it has to move well and it has to jump well, but if they have a bit of spirit to them, and they really feel like you have that look in their eye, and you get along with them, and they are a bit quirky and really love it, you can tell that, I think, at a younger age. So it doesn't put me off ever if a horse misbehaves or has a really tough, maybe even a dangerous side to it, because I always have felt like I've been able to work through that part. And normally when you get a horse like that working with you, they're real fighters at the end. Like my Stella Artois horse that I have now, she was extremely difficult. I found out in Germany, like couldn't even get her near a cross rail for 2 weeks, and people didn't necessarily love her, and she's very difficult on the ground. And she won Fair Hill 2-star, which would now be called 3-star. But she is very tough even now to deal with on the ground. But I feel like she fights for the jumps, and she's a lovely horse. So it's interesting. It's hard to pick a good 5-star horse. It would be a lot easier to pick a 2 or a 3-star horse.
I'd like to say one thing here, that today, because many of the warm bloods have very elegant movement and are athletic jumpers, that certainly at the lower levels, the warm bloods are excelling. And I include in that the Irish sport horses as being warm bloods. But as you get to the rarefied atmosphere of the 5-star level, you need more and more and more thoroughbred blood in the horse in order to survive the speed, endurance, and have the soundness to prevail.
Yeah, and you can tell Nina's breeder background and talking about different types of horses, and when you get to the 5-star level, you need not just a horse that can do well in dressage, and not just one that can jump well, but the time limits on the cross country courses.
The galloping is crucial.
Mean you have to have a fast, sturdy horse and hardy horse, and that's what thoroughbreds tend to have. So it really, and I think the other thing that's amazing listening to these two ladies talk about their perspective on horses, how personalized it is and how individualized it is for each horse. And, it's not just jump on the horse and go through a bunch of exercises and expect it to work. You got to sort of psych out the horse and understand the horse and treat the horse so that, it's not afraid and is bold and so on.
And that's why women excel in this sport.
Well,
one of the few where women and men compete together Olympically.
Well, I would certainly agree with that. That it's a sport where 5-star riders are men and women, and they compete equally. And that's one of the other very attractive aspects of the sport. So what is it about the 5-star that's so unique, and why is it a pinnacle of the sport? And so what's the difference in the levels as you come along?
Well, starting off now, we have the 2-star level, which is preliminary. They call it preliminary if you're competing nationally. And Fair Hill has a short format one of those in the spring, but that's kind of the mid-level, and that's when you start to figure out, you're asking questions that are a little bit harder, and you start to get a little bit of a feel for if the horse is possibly going to have 4 or 5-star level potential. And then you go to the 3-star, which to me, if a horse does a long format 3-star event quite well, and I can say that Fair Hill's 3-star in the fall, if you had a horse that jumps around that well, you have a real good clue if the horse is going to be an advanced horse, and have, because of the terrain and whatnot. And then you go to the 4-star level, and obviously there's a lot of our international championships, meaning the Olympic Games, or now the Pan Am Games, is actually a 3-star. So you can have a horse that's a very, very good 4-star horse, but doesn't necessarily mean it wants to be a 5-star horse. Like, for instance, Kimbaldo was an amazing 4-star, is probably one of the best records in the world. But
that was one of our horses that Jenny rode so successfully. To many wins.
He was a lovely horse. He was 2-time Horse of the Year, and he won Fair Hill, and had a ton of FEI wins and success. But that next step, that 5-star step, the length of the cross country increases, as well as you have everything kind of to the max, if that makes sense. So instead of having a couple tough questions throughout the course, or let's say 5 or 6 tough questions and a couple let up jumps in between, everything is more just, it's asking constant questions, and there's not much letdown in between if you have a bad jump, and you want to get your confidence back. It's not like you have 5 more jumps to get it back in a rhythm before you meet the next question. But I will say that Fair Hill is known for having a great cross country course, and the terrain there, and that, the ground and the way that track was laid out when it was on the old side, where we had the 4-star, people often called it a 4.5-star. It was because the course was very, very difficult, and it was great, but that terrain is quite special that Fair Hill has. I mean, they have a lot of room, and I know Timony and I, we've been to Lemoulin and Poe, which I would say were events that didn't have the ground that Fair Hill has. There's not the space. You're kind of running back and forth on each other, and so I think that was something that, we knew that Fair Hill can have a wonderful cross country course, and I think that, I know a lot of the riders, we were excited to hear it was on the news site, because we were like, oh gosh, it was nearly almost a 5-star before when it was ranked as a 4-star. If you built a 5-star on that same side, it would be a 6-star. It would be just over the top difficult, but just laughing and joking around about it. But I think that everyone really loved Fair Hill's cross country, but the event itself needed to have, an update and get in a new, have good stabling and have beautiful, good footing arenas. And it's exciting that now we have a beautiful cross country track and all those new amenities that we really needed for that event. And so I think that everyone actually was quite surprised when they came to Fair Hill's test event, and were impressed with what's been done there. I don't think a lot of people actually realized in the eventing world what it was going to be like, because they were so used to the old side where Fair Hill International was. So everything I'm hearing back from the riders is good things, and that they're impressed with it. So that's really exciting.
Well, I first went to Fair Hill as a spectator, obviously. I didn't ride there. Way back in the beginning. And
the beginning of what?
Of eventing, in the beginning of Fair Hill. And
that was 30 years ago.
A long time ago. Anyway, I got very, very impressed with it. And then as I got more and more involved in eventing, and we moved up here to Pennsylvania, I was asked to be on the board at Fair Hill International. So I spent several years on the board, and actually obtained the Dansko support as the presenting sponsor.
A few years ago, yeah.
Yeah.
You did that?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And I just say Cecil County has been something very close to my heart for many years, because way back when I was still practicing developmental pediatrics, I used to do clinics in Elkton. So I knew Cecil County very well, not only from Fair Hill, but also from many of the patients that I knew in Cecil County.
Well, I think one of the best ways to get started in eventing is you reach out to some of the riders, and there's a huge working student program in the area. And I have to say, like, I teach a 6-year-old. He started out, he was 6, now he's 8 or 9, and he's flying away. But I know a lot of people like to give back. Like, personally, I was really happy to help out with the younger generation, and even if it's not about money for me, like, I was happy to help out and give back. And I think a lot of riders are happy to do that. But Pony Club is also a wonderful way to get involved with the sport of eventing. I know there's a huge amount of people that have gotten into eventing through that, and that's a really great way to just get in the door and kind of figure out what route maybe your kid would like to go down. And I even know people that have come from Fair Hill, literally gone as being hot walkers to then like riding the pony at the track. And then now I really know a young man that now is eventing, and that's the way he came through it. And he walked up to me at a restaurant and was like, oh, I want to event. And he was doing the Fair Hill Starter Trials, and now he's working for Justine Dutton and Chris, the course designer. So it's really interesting that you can come from all different areas, all different financial backing. And if you get in with the right person and you have to work hard, that's probably the biggest thing, and really want it. I know a lot of people are willing to give back to the sport. Like Erin Sylvester, I know she's local. She's in the area. She teaches a lot of younger people coming up. Felicia Barr, Lillian Hurd, and obviously Ryan Wood and Boyd and whatnot. Like a lot of those people have working students and have brought people on. And, you can literally walk up to the riders at the event and say, oh, hey, I'd like to get into eventing and go from there. But I know Pony Club is a great way, if you have no idea about horses, to kind of get into horses and get to know them that way. But I do know a couple of people that have gone to Fair Hill and literally just liked horses and wanted to hot walk, and then they've turned out to be riders or event riders. So it's interesting. There's definitely different ways to go about it.
The general, what's the word I want? Morale and discipline is such that people aren't out just to win. They're out to learn how to take care of the horses, how to manage them, how to ride, and they also have the opportunity of getting to do team experiences, particularly in Pony Club. So they have a very good environment to grow up in, versus some of the other horse disciplines that maybe don't have the same as event people do.
Yeah, and I just also make a plug for Fair Hill and almost all of the organized events, Plantation and so on. We just last weekend at Fair Hill had a starter trial, a starter competition. They had novice, beginner, novice, and even a class called introduction, where the younger riders, are coached and encouraged to do starter courses that build confidence and skill. So there are a lot of opportunities, and I agree with Nina that the culture of eventing is one of the nicest and most welcoming of the equestrian competition disciplines. So it's a very supportive environment, and as Jenny has just said, a pro like her at the highest level is giving lessons to young riders, and very young riders. So you see that a lot.
That's something else. Like if you've never seen eventing and you go and you see Fair Hill 5-star and you're like, oh, this is really interesting, I'd like to figure out more about it, you can go volunteer at a starter trial or one of the horse trials and just pay attention to who do you like that you're watching ride, who's helping and coaching their kids and the younger people. And it's a great way to just maybe dip your toes in the water and just see what the sport's about, is actually volunteering at one of the starter trials or one of the horse shows and being a jump judge. And there's a lot of people that I think really enjoy that as well. And you can end up learning a lot just by watching what's going on. And it's a good way to, maybe it's a little less intimidating than just walking up to someone and saying, hey, I want to get involved in eventing. It's a great way to learn about it without, that would be a really easy way to go about it, is just by volunteering or being a jump judge.
Well, it's been great talking to you, Jenny, and obviously we continue. In fact, I think we're going to see you ride tomorrow on our two younger horses. And, it's been a great partnership, but I hope that everybody who's heard us speak, and especially been impressed with Jenny, how satisfying and exciting the sport is, and how unique 3-day eventing is, and how really excited we are to have the next U.S. 5-star event at Fair Hill. And how the early experience there with the new course has been terrific. So we're all looking forward to it, and we want all of you to come out and really see what 3-day eventing is how exciting it is.